13 hours of talks, another 130 billion euros in, 100 billion euros of debt written off. Is it enough? Is it in time? Has it diffused a wider blow-up? Let's ask Hugo Dixon. What do you think, Hugo? To me, reading this piece, you seem to be quite forgiving. And you've been quite forgiving for a while now.
Yeah, I mean, we've not been in the sort of cataclysm camp. That said, there have been a hell of a lot of shocks on the road, and there still are going to be shocks on the road. I mean, essentially the bottom line of what we're saying this morning is that this deal is making the best of a bad job. And so it was better to do this deal than not have a deal and have the whole thing blow up. I mean, that's the first thing. And you just look at what's going on in the rest of the Eurozone. I mean, obviously a lot of it's because of the ECB pumping that cash into the system before Christmas. But the Italian 10-year bond yield is now 5.4.
So, let me just get this right. You don't think Greece is going to default? You don't think Greece is going to go bankrupt? Whether it happens March 20th or not? I mean, that seems to be... This is what separates the two camps, clearly. And personally, I know I shouldn't editorialise here, but I'm in that former camp.
Well, what we're saying is that it will... it's not going to default now, but that despite all of these sort of restrictions that the creditors have put onto Greece, such as making them do reforms before they get the cash, such as writing into their constitution the priority to debt repayments, and getting the pledges from party leaders that they're going to stick to the plan, etc., we're saying that there still is quite a chance that they'll try to wriggle out of it.
Yep.
And then the question is, how does that play out? And I'm not in the camp that thinks that it's certain or even probably likely that Greece will default in another year or two and then be kicked out of the Eurozone. I mean, because I think that what we're going to see is a further, ghastly phrase, kicking the can down the road. I don't think that they're going to stick to the plan, but I think it's going to be another sort of fudging of the situation.
So they've done a good job in terms of buying a little bit more time.
Buying more time because you didn't want, because despite what has happened in the last few months, particularly in Italy and particularly with the ECB, in terms of dousing down the fires elsewhere, if you'd had a blow-up in Athens next month, the ricochet would have been pretty bad. So it was sensible to push things off, and frankly, there is a cost.
Do you think Olli Rehn, Jean-Claude Juncker, Christine Lagarde, all these people who were at this 13-hour overnight session, do you think they believe this is going to work?
No.
Ultimately?
No.
You think that they all think it's going to fail ultimately?
Well, it depends what you mean by fail. If you mean, do they think it's going to work, that actually Greece is going to stick to the plan as written and end up with 120% of debt to GDP in 2020. I don't think people believe that.
No.
But it's a bit like Tolstoy, Anna Karenina. You know, happy families, they're all the same. Unhappy families, they're all different. I mean, what would failure be? There are lots of ranges of failure. And I think that, there's the total blow-up, Greece out of the Eurozone, and there is the further sort of fudging and mudging, which is, I think, just as likely as the total blow-up.
I look at some of these numbers. This idea, just this notion that Greece could bounce back to zero real GDP growth in 2013, positive real GDP growth in 2014. Have you seen the sums that actually make that look possible?
No, I haven't.
I just wonder where this is coming from.
I agree. I mean, when you're on the depths of a recession and you've been shrinking, and it was 7% to the last quarter of last year. Shrinkage. I mean, it's desperate. And that's why I think we'll see the whole thing veering off track. But the question is, at each moment when it veers off track, you're then faced with the choice. Do you let them leave the Eurozone in what would then probably not be cataclysmic for the rest of the Eurozone, but would still be pretty cataclysmic for Greece? Or do you find a way of fudging? And I think that this game of fudging is quite likely to go on.
At the same time, of course, you're wearing down your electorate.
Yes, They are.
I mean, how much can they take?
This is true, but this is why the whole program. This is why I mean, what's interesting about this program is a big chunk of the money goes to Greece up front. And so what the creditors have tried to do is they've tried to match that with a big chunk, as big a chunk as they possibly can get of the reforms there up front. So you sort of match them as much as you can simultaneously. It's unlikely to work, very unlikely to work as written on the plan, as I said.
Yeah.
But there are lots of different ways it could fail, and the cataclysmic exit from the euro,
all right.
I'm afraid I'm slightly sitting on the fence. We're sort of thinking it's probably about 50-50, actually.
No,
but it's certainly not certain.
No doubt we'll talk much more about this. Probably throw Portugal in there as well. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Hugo, thanks a lot. Hugo Dixon. For more agenda setting... For more agenda setting inside, watch our US Breaking Views show every day, 12:30 Eastern, 17:30 GMT. I'm Axel Threlfall. This is Reuters.